Hello, everybody. I know everybody came to talk, but I'd like you to tone it down a little bit. If somebody's next to you is talking, hit them with your elbow. I got a little voter fraud stuff I want to talk about. If you don't know me, I'm Ed Naile from the Coalition of NH Taxpayers. I want to thank everybody for coming. And that was good. Listen to Skip. There's a lot of candidates here, and I know the acoustics in this room go about halfway, and then the talkers are down the other end. So I want you to make sure you get to meet these people, the different candidates that come here to meet people, and they've spoken, and they've been, let's say, drowned out by the people that are talking in the back. I know everybody wants to come to see everybody else because we've all fought the same battles in our municipalities for generations, and we're the people that do it the most often, and we're the most effective. So I know you all want to talk to each other, so we're going to have a little compromise. You see a candidate, thank them for coming, and stop and talk to them. Stop by the tables, Steve Negron, Andy Martin, I see a couple tables out here. Eddie Edwards, make sure you say hello, introduce yourself. I don't care where you're from. These guys are putting their lives on hold to run for office for us. I want to talk about voter fraud real quick. There's probably there's this idea that there's no voter fraud in New Hampshire, depending on who you talk to. But our good friend Bill Gardner asked the Department of Motor Vehicles to check the people who used an out-of-state driver's license back on November 8th of 2016. And 6,451 people used an out-of-state driver's license to vote on one single day in New Hampshire. We know there's thousands more from out of state that voted here, that registered to vote during the primary, because Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders were out beating the bushes and beating up the colleges to get those people registered. So when they came in on November 8th, they were already registered. So I know this, I follow them, I track them. And I have a simple solution for this. It doesn't sound very tough. And there may be some excuses from the different people in charge that have learned to live with voter fraud and can't find a way to stop it. That would be Ann Edwards, Bill Gardner, Bud Fitch from the Attorney General's office. These people have watched this go on for 20 years I know of and done nothing about it. Well, I have a simple solution. If you come here from another state and you want to vote, you fill out what's called the voter registration form. At the bottom, there's a perjury clause. It said, I am now a citizen of the state of New Hampshire. I am located at this address. And you give your legal address to vote in New Hampshire in a federal election. It's called a perjury clause. You sign that at the bottom declaring this is your legal residence. You can only have one. That's called your permanent address, your legal, your domicile. That's the Latin term, the legal term, domicile. It's in our Constitution. When you swear that out, right now, you take your California driver's license and you go over and vote. And then suddenly, somehow, you're allowed to cast a vote, which is worth something here in New Hampshire. It's not worth anything in Maryland, where the donors they're donating thousands of dollars against Ruth Ward. The people in Maryland, they already own that state. Their votes are worthless. So they send money up here to New Hampshire, and they send their friends from other states. We know that 6,000, like I said, 6,541 registered to vote, and when the smoke cleared, 5,313, 10 months later, had knocked out a New Hampshire driver's license. So either you have to believe that 5,313 people voted in New Hampshire and just forgot about driving. They never drove again. They gave up their license. So I looked at this and I thought, man, we spent all this time debating on whether or not there's going to be a resolution to understanding a simple word like domicile. And that may be coming up shortly. I have a letter here I'd like to read. But I have a simple solution for this, and it can be done tomorrow. Bill Gardner could order this done, and the Department of Motor Vehicles can work with them, because they're mostly run by administrative rules. They can just declare something. It's a handy little tool. It's called a center punch. Okay, you walk up and you vote in New Hampshire with your California driver's license, and we say, thank you, welcome to New Hampshire. And you punch a hole in their out-of-state driver's license. Right? Not only can they now have, they can walk over and vote. See how simple this is. California, it works. Kentucky, it works. Wisconsin, the 49 other states that vote here, not one of those states has ever sued us or ever demanded the state of New Hampshire, let their people vote here, have they? So I think if we take one of these 97-cent Walmart punches and punch a hole in that damn license from California or from Connecticut or Massachusetts, guess what else happens? They can't go anywhere else in New Hampshire to vote, can they? No. Here's another fun fact. Some other states, when you get pulled over for drunk driving and you're awaiting trial, they punch a hole in your driver's license. That's too damn bad, isn't it? So if you come to New Hampshire with a Wisconsin driver's license, and we punch a hole in it, and you vote, you steal one of our votes, you're stuck with that hole in your license. You can explain that to the Wisconsin trooper who pulls you over and thinks that you're awaiting trial for drunk driving. How's that sound? Right? We have a kid right now from California, still has a California driver's license. He's a student in Hanover. He is running for the House of Representatives. He's complaining, I want to keep my license from California and run and be a state representative from Hanover. This little punk. So you're going to beat him up on the internet, expose him. I have my friends in California seeing if he voted in California, because we know he's registered there. He said, when I was in high school, I registered to vote right away, and then as soon as I got here, I registered to vote. That's his claim to fame. We also have, this is going to get interesting. You know how New Hampshire can't determine what domicile is within our borders? Sometimes, you cross over the border in New Hampshire and you see the welcome signs, and it changed a little bit. You wouldn't think that we forgot the English language, but we have. You drive across the border, we don't know what residence and domicile, abode, dwelling, legal residence, we don't know what that is anymore. But I guarantee you they do on the other side of the state line, because we are in charge of the federal elections in New Hampshire. Now here's a fun story for you. It's a gentleman, a young man, and I did a lot of background search on him. Are you going to like this, people? This guy's name is Jonathan Andrew Hatch, and he is registered to vote in Derry. His driver's license says Derry. He registered his car in Derry. That's his home, he says. Well, it's actually his sister's condo. He lives in Quincy, Mass, where he works for the Boston school system. His name is, once again, Jonathan Andrew Hatch. He's, let's say, 27 years old. He lives in, he's actually lived in Cambridge, and right now he lives in Quincy. Here's the fun part. This idiot got picked for New Hampshire jury duty in a federal trial. Okay? So this idiot from Quincy, who's registering to vote, voting in New Hampshire, registering his car out of his sister's condo, serves on the jury, and he told the court, I'm not sure if I live in New Hampshire. And they let him be on the jury anyway. So they convict this guy named Gonzalez of heroin dealing. So this is how stupid this guy is. After he serves on the jury and convicts somebody and sends them off to jail, he goes back to his sister's condo where he's using that address illegally. They towed his car because he doesn't belong there. So he says to himself, gee, who's going to pay for the $100 to tow my car? I'll send a letter to the court. Maybe they'll pay it. So this idiot sends a request to the New Hampshire court, would you pay for my car being towed out of my illegal residence in New Hampshire? Well, the opposing counsel found out. And then they go to the lawyer, and the lawyers find out, whoa, we want an appeal. Mr. Gonzalez was convicted of heroin dealing by somebody who lives in Massachusetts, not in New Hampshire. He was falsely using his sister's condo. Now, this is what's fun. Judge Barbadero is a federal judge. He did a 14-page memorandum about this guy. He has a New Hampshire driver's license. He votes in New Hampshire. He registers his car, right? He looks, for all intents and purposes, this moron looks like he's a resident of New Hampshire. But he works for the Boston school system, and he told the court that he worked there and he'd been there since he left home in 2013. So he hasn't really been a resident of New Hampshire since 2013. He just uses his sister's condo. So somehow a federal judge named Barbaderos looks at the facts and says, yeah, he's not a resident. How did he come to that conclusion? He used the facts in front of him. He didn't say, oh, gee, domicile, residence, oh, that's too confusing. We'll let him live in Massachusetts and vote in New Hampshire and serve on a New Hampshire jury and convict people in New Hampshire and then go back. And he's registered to vote in Massachusetts, too. So I have connections to Massachusetts. So I know that he's voted there. Right now we're going to find out if he voted locally. So when he registered to vote in Massachusetts, he was registered to vote in Massachusetts. And all the addresses match and the phone numbers match. One thing that's interesting about this guy is there's another guy who's 27 years old and lives in Quincy. His name is Jonathan Andrew Hatch, but he has a different birth date. But his relatives are all the same. Isn't that funny? What are the odds of that? So some of these people, when you don't find a single shred of evidence that they live in New Hampshire or they don't have a phone number or an email address, sometimes that's someone who doesn't live in this country or somebody who's trying to hide something. So if a federal judge can figure out where the heck a guy who actually lives, I think we should be able to do that in New Hampshire. I would love to see our domicile residency charade go to a federal court. Has anyone ever seen the Democrats take it for U.S. Constitution? I think they filed and then they withdrew when someone told them, oh, that would be stupid. You know, because a federal judge can't let New Hampshire let everybody vote here. Or every other state would be allowed to do that. That's why they only send their money here and they sneak across the border, because it's not legal. I don't care what anybody tells you. And we have a letter right here from the state of New Hampshire Supreme Court. I think it's from the Comedy Channel, but let me read it to you. It's RE 2018-0267, a request from the governor and council for an opinion of the jurors regarding HB 1264, amending the definition of resident and residency. Okay. This would require them getting Black's Law Dictionary off the shelf and opening it up. So I don't know what's going to happen, but they say they're going to be ready to give us a definition of those unbelievably difficult words on July 13th. So stay tuned. In a very short amount of time, we're going to see whether or not our Supreme Court is on our side or on their side. Our Constitution says you vote in the town or the ward in which you are domiciled. When you are a college student, you fill out a residency form, right? If you fill out the residency form and you give your, this is the word they use, domicile, and it's legal, you don't have to pay out-of-state tuition. So every one of these little punks who votes here could not fill out a residency form with a domicile, or he would do it and save $11,000 a year, because he can't. And if the college found out that you give a fake domicile like Mr. Hatch did, like Jonathan there did, they would ask you for all the tuition for an out-of-state student. So the fraud is coming down to a point where I've actually heard some of the people who are proposing voter fraud saying, well, it's all about a 1972 court case. And they're actually starting to, instead of just imaginary shots at the truth about this thing, they're actually naming reasons why that other people are allowed to vote here. So that pins them down. I've done some right-to-know requests, and they've actually, the AG's office has filled something out in detail, so I have something to take to federal court. This is going to wind up in federal court. New Hampshire can't keep letting people from other states vote here. So, and the other thing is, we want to thank Keith Hanson just for being Keith Hanson. You know what happens when we don't have conservative talk radio? You get beat up. Conservative talk radio and the people who do it are a natural resource like air, water, and plutonium. Okay? So we need people like Keith. If you can get Keith's show in your town or your area, he's on for 3 hours. They put a chain on him on his collar for the first 2, and then they turn him loose for the last hour. For 4 hours now. All right, they turn him loose. So you want to pick up on his show. You want to try and get it moved across the state. We lost Rich Gerard, and the people in Manchester can tell you when Rich Gerard disappeared from Manchester, it's tough sledding without him hammering away. I used to do for 4.5 years. I did a voter fraud show on Rich's show. In the beginning, somebody from the Secretary of State's office used to call up and tell me I was wrong. That stopped real quick when we started using the statutes. So talk radio, very, very important. It's our key to success. I want to thank Keith for coming.
Thank you very much for that. That's humbling, and it really is.
Grok TV.